Towards the end of Nighthold and kind of when Tomb of Sargeras was starting up, the guild had a discussion where we talked about whether we wanted to, as a whole, add a third raiding night to the schedule. The idea was that we weren't happy with the progress and the speed of progress that we made in Nighthold, that we made in Trials of Valor, and that we wanted to push ourselves more and harder. And the reason for this is, we had a lot of setbacks in Nighthold. We had players come, we had players go, we had players that, real life issues came up and work issues, and they simply, stopped playing, or they left for other guilds, and a variety of issues that are pretty commonplace when it comes to a mid-tier raiding guild, right? Like we clear heroic content, trying to get back into mythic content, but recruitment's been god awful. It's just it's the norm, to kind of wax and wane with players apparently. So we talked about it, and one of the options, and the one that we had settled on, was that we would not do 3 nights a week, because a good majority of the raiders said that they couldn't make it due to work, due to family, due to life. They weren't interested in it. That 3 nights a week, 3 hours a week, or a night, while not particularly difficult for our raiders, it was, because we are a little bit older, a little bit more mature, technically speaking, and because of that, we wanted to go play other games. We wanted to spend time with family and wife and girlfriend and boyfriend and all this stuff, and we just simply didn't want to raid a third night. So the compromise that we came up with was that we'll only do 2 nights a week, but everyone that intends to raid, whether you are a brand new probationary member or whether you are, the oldest, raiding member in the guild, that you would do at least a Mythic +10 Keystone each week. The idea was that at the beginning of Tomb of Sargeras, the loot was significantly better than what you had available, that it was something that everyone was guaranteed. No matter what you do, you're guaranteed at least 1 item that week. If you're lucky, unlucky within the raid, you're still going to get at least 1 item, and you get a substantial bonus to your artifact power each week. The idea was that we wanted you, the player, to continue to push yourself and progress, so that even if you are super unlucky, that you still are able to increase your power level of that character. And at the beginning of Tomb of Sargeras, it was a noticeable improvement. A good majority of the players did it. However, we had the issue where some players simply did not, or would not, or refused to. And the repercussions and the punishment that we came up with was one of 3 things. If you did not do your +10 for the week, you would either not get an invite, which simply would not work for logistical reasons. You would get no loot for the week, or you would be prioritized completely last below every other person in that raid group. So let's talk about the first one. No invite to the raid. Well, logistically speaking, like I mentioned, that's a nightmare, because now not only am I losing a raiding member, whether you're a new guy or you've been here forever, but you're not getting any experience, you're not, getting any loot, you're not getting any experience, you're not seeing the fight, and if you are a newer member or you are looking for alternative places to kind of hang your raiding cap, this is a good incentive to go ahead and leave the guild. I mean, I'm not getting a raid invite because I didn't do 1 Mythic. I'll just find another guild, one that's equally, as progress as you guys, maybe 1 or 2 bosses behind, but they'll see how well geared I am, and that I already have experience, and I'm a shoo-in, easy peasy. So just didn't make sense. The second option, which is the one that we've gone with for the most part, which is that you get no loot, that you show up, that you are still required to raid, but you get no loot. And it has its problems. It doesn't incentivize people to stick around if you are new and you didn't do it. It kind of is a slap in the face when you have a best in slot item, which is kind of what sparked this video, a best in slot item pop up, and then you don't even have a chance to even try for it. Or the third option, which is you will be prioritized below everybody else because you are a bad player and you didn't do what you were required to do. So towards the beginning of Tomb of Sargeras, great system. It really encouraged people, if you want to raid with us, if you want to, get the gear, and if you want to continue, you got to put in a little effort on your part on the side, outside of raiding, to increase that power level. However, as the raid tier has gone on and more gears come out, and Titan Forge, and all this stuff, and legendaries and tier bonuses, and especially towards the end where we have these catch-up mechanics, where we have these ridiculously large amounts of artifact knowledge that you're getting or artifact power through the artifact knowledge. When we started, you had artifact knowledge rank 40, and now we're, 45, 46, I don't remember what we're at right now. But my point being that the incentive and the power level gain, the total power level that each player is going to gain each week, diminishes over time, which is a fine system, nothing wrong with that. But the issue that we ran into is that last week we had a raider who did not do his Mythic +10 Keystone. He said he couldn't get into a group, and he had a very limited amount of time, and he was just simply unable to do it. He tried, he said, but he wasn't able to do it. And he asked me during the raid last week, am I eligible for loot because I didn't do my Mythic Plus this week? And the answer was no. And it's something that, as a guild leader and a raid leader, it sucks that I have to inform you that, no, you didn't follow the rules. You are being punished. And what happened was two different scenarios happened that sparked this video. Is that we killed Jade or Fallen Avatar, I don't remember. We killed somebody, and an item that this guy really wanted dropped. And he was very vocal that, I want this item, this is a best in slot item, I need this item. And because he didn't do his Mythic for that week, or the week prior, he didn't get the item. Which, of course, he was pissed. He wasn't happy about it. Understandably so. But, there is a rule in place. The second scenario, and one that we had happen tonight, and again, something that sparked discussion and what I want to talk to you guys about, is we had a raider who did not do his +10 last week. So this week, not eligible for loot. Item drops, and he rolls on RC Loot Council, the only person that needs this item. We had one other player that plays the exact same class as him, rolled that he wanted it for off-spec. And he said, actually, hold on, I already have that item. I don't need it. Okay, so I asked, well, does this player who, I knew did not do his Mythic +10, did you do your Mythic +10? I get a nope, I didn't do it last week. So now I have this awkward situation where nobody needs the item except for the one guy who, by the rules that we have all agreed upon, should not get that item. And the issue was that the player that rolled off spec for it said, hey, I totally need it. I'm totally not going to give it to this other guy. And I get it. He's trying to look out for, a fellow raider, his, someone that plays the same class as him. And it's simple. We had one guy that needed it, but he didn't earn it. And that's kind of sparked a little bit of discussion within myself about the system that we have, about the rule that we have, and is it fair, is it right, how to handle that situation. So ultimately, what I did, whether it is right or wrong, that's one of the benefits when it comes to being in charge, is I get to do what I get to do, whatever I want to do. I gave the guy the item. I said, look, here's the item. The problem that I am worried that will happen is that people and players will be incentivized to not continue to progress their character because they see much smaller gains in artifact power, much smaller gains in item level and actual statistics, because the gear is about on par with what they already have. We've been doing this for a while now, for the entire raid tier. So some players may not get an upgrade, or it may be 5 item levels higher, and it may not be the right stats, and it may be completely worthless. And that is something that we need to look out for. And that's my concern is, that overall the purpose of this was to continue to push each and every single player so that every week they gain a little bit more power outside of the raid. And whether it's fair or not fair to skip a player or not invite a player, which again, logistically isn't going to make sense and isn't going to work, or prioritize them last for loot, in the end, the goal is to progress each player's power level. And so that's what we, as my 2 officers and I, have decided, is that we will keep an eye on it. And that we will probably shift a little bit closer to prioritizing people completely last rather than skipping them altogether. And I get it. It sucks. And it's a very poop situation, to put it very ridiculously, is that, both sides of this are shitty. Not getting loot sucks, but not trying to put forth some effort when maybe your fellow raiders are pushing their character to the limit, where they are pushing themselves, where they're giving up other things because they want to see, this boss dead, but you can't be bothered to help out a little bit. And that's where a little bit of the frustration comes into, is that we do have players that are pushing themselves and that are giving up social engagements and, time playing other games and rest and, kind of scrambling for school and for work for you. And you aren't even able to complete a Mythic +10, which is fairly easy these days. But everybody else can do it, or, a good majority of the other players can do it. And it's a bad situation. And it's one that, it's a catch-22, because if we punish the players that don't do it, are we going to keep them? Are we going to shoot ourselves in the foot in the long run? Are they going to be disgruntled and pissed off and just play poorly? But if we don't punish them, those players that are pushing themselves, are they going to be disgruntled and pissed off and, not play as well or care or leave, etc.? And it's one of those fine lines where, as a guild leader, there is no right choice. And I'm sure that no matter what choice I make, somebody's going to be mad. Somebody's going to be pissed off. Somebody's going to be salty or triggered. And I have no correct choice in the matter. So I think for the time being that I'm going to watch the situation unfold. Like I said, maybe we'll move a little bit closer to your prioritized last above, below rather everybody else. And we'll see how that goes. One of the nice things, and I've talked to you guys about this, is that I oftentimes will literally survey in some cases, the guild, where I'll ask them, do things work? Do we like how this is headed, etc. So I will let it unfold, and then maybe in a few weeks, maybe if we get a release date for Antorus, the next raid tier, that I'll kind of poll and see where everybody's at, and maybe report back and say, hey, people did or didn't like it this or that way. And maybe even this video here, which I know apparently still a decent chunk of the guild either likes to poke fun of me for doing this or actually actively listens and engages and watches these videos. Maybe it will spark a little bit of discussion to see my end, my point of view when it comes to something like this, to where I can see both sides and neither side is the better side. So with that being said, guys, you know the deal. Like button, hit that subscribe button. Let me know in the comment section below how you would handle this if you are in, or maybe not necessarily are in, a situation, a leadership position. I can't even talk. But if you were in charge, if you were me, how would you handle this situation? Till next time, guys. I'll see ya.